If you could think of one thing that we, as let me say, a nation. I know some of you are not don't live in America, but one of the things we're really good at in America is complaining. In fact, it was kind of comical as I was getting ready to do this video. I couldn't get the internet to connect or the broadcast to start. Don't know what was going on. I had to do a speed test. Everything was fine on my end. I'm not sure what even was happening. And I was like, oh man, what's going on? And I thought how ironic it was that I'm going to talk about complaining. And there it is. But we complain, right? We complain about our coffee. It's too hot, it's too cold, not enough flavoring, too much flavoring. You know, the size is too small, it's too large. We find things to complain about. And when we think about those things, for those of us who've been on missions trips out of this country, or even some of the hard hit areas of the United States. I think about my going down into the Navajo Nation and just what they're dealing with. You know, power, water, lack of water, lack of power in the Appalachians mountains. Some of the people living in some of those areas, it would blow your mind that it's almost like as if they're in a third world country. And we talk about these first world problems, things that we have like the internet not connecting. But in today's reading, you're going to read, if you're reading through us and own it, as we're reading the Bible through it in a year, we turn to First Peter. And Peter's an incredible character. I wish I had more time to talk about him, maybe later on, or comment if you want to know more about Peter. But we find Peter, and Peter's writing. First Peter is written to the exiles that have been persecuted, and we're talking about real persecution at this point. We're talking about loss of lives. We're talking about imprisonment, homes being destroyed, businesses being burned down. See, you know, James, as we talk about James was writing to individuals that were dealing with financial or relational persecution. But as Peter comes along, Peter is soon to be martyred, in fact, because of his belief systems. And so Peter is writing to people that know what persecution really is. You and I have no idea. Some of us point to COVID and say we were persecuted at those points. We were getting close to some form of persecution, but never to the level of what's happening here. And it's interesting to me that Peter's writing, and he's writing to these people that are persecuted, that are dispersed, meaning they've had to flee their homes, they've had to leave and to find safety in other areas. Their whole world has been turned upside down. This is what he said. First Peter chapter 1 verse 3. He says, all praise to God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. It is by his great mercy that we have been born again, because God raised Jesus Christ from the dead. Now we live with great expectation. I love that line. He said, hey, and again, he says to the people, hey, I know you guys are persecuted. I know you've fled your homes. You've had to leave everything you know, set up a new place, find conditions. You know, all your good luxuries are now gone. Everything that you knew is now gone. He said, but there's great expectation. What power in those words to try to help them to recognize that which God is going to do. And he goes on, verse 4, and we have a priceless inheritance. An inheritance is kept in heaven for you, pure and undefiled, beyond the reach of change and decay. Recognize who he's talking to again and what he's saying. He's saying the earth that you had, the money you had, the possessions you had, the home you had, the life you had, fails in comparison to what's up in heaven, what's waiting for you, this great expectation. And he says, guess what? It will not decay, it will not rot, no one can take it from you. You have been bought, you've been paid by a price. And it's so incredible to recognize what is happening in those moments as he's talking to these individuals that are going through things that you and I have never experienced and may never experience. And yet we complain about our day. We complain about the fact that I come to church and it's too hot or it's too cold. We complain about the color of carpet sometimes, or whether we have pews or whether we have chairs. We complain all about all this other stuff that has no matter. It doesn't impact us. It doesn't stop us from worshiping one iota. You've never been kicked out of your church, more than likely. If you have been kicked out, there's a whole nother story. But you've never been kicked out of your church. You've probably never been exiled from your home, right? All your possessions taken away. Had to find another area, another community, another group of believers to be a part of. You've never experienced that, and yet we complain. What would happen if we did what Peter says? Hey, look to heaven. Look to heaven. Look to the inheritance that will never decay, that never will change, that nobody can take from you. We need to stop looking at the world and stop looking at the problems around us and the struggles and the things that we think are bad. Right. And I laugh because, again, in comparison, what Paul would say, these light and momentary afflictions, and what he dealt with was not light and momentary. But we need to stop looking at all this stuff and remember the inheritance that's been bought, that was paid for, that we didn't earn and we can never earn, but we will spend eternity with him because he first loved us. Maybe instead of complaining about your life and about what's going on, what if you change that around and started thanking God for the inheritance that